Welcome back to Sawtooth Tactical, your source for Second Amendment news, gun reviews, and the finest in 2A content. Today, we are talking all about ammunition. So stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed, and let's get to it. There is a ton when it comes to ammunition, a lot of information, a lot of stuff. It can be overwhelming for a new shooter, a new firearms owner, but don't worry, we're going to talk about that today. So if you just got your first handgun, or your 10th handgun, or your first AR, or your 10th AR, or anything else, we're going to talk about all that because there are so many options when it comes to ammunition. So what do you train with? What do you practice with? What are your target rounds? What do you use for home defense? For your carry rounds, for your concealed carry gun? Self-defense, hollow points, soft points, different grain weights, steel case, brass case. There's a lot of stuff here. I'm going to try not to make this video too long. So we're going to start with handgun ammunition. And I'm going to use 9mm as our example because that is the most popular handgun round in the United States. In fact, I think it's just the most popular round in the United States. And so that's where we're going to start because a lot of people's first firearm purchase is a 9mm handgun, like a Glock 19 or something, hopefully not a high point. So let's say you just bought a handgun. Well, don't just go put it in a drawer and do nothing with it. You have to get out and train and practice and make sure that you get to where you feel confident and proficient with that handgun. And use this as an example. This is my SIG P365. It's my carry gun. So what do I carry in it? I carry this. This is Federal 124 grain HST hollow points. They are one of the most popular and most well-trusted defensive rounds that there is. But do I practice with that ammo? Generally, no. Now, I do recommend that you put at least a couple mags of your defensive ammo through whatever handgun you use, or whatever gun, just to make sure that it will run it and cycle it, because not all guns will cycle all rounds. But almost all guns will cycle all full metal jacket rounds. And that's what you want to practice with. I have fallen in love with this AAC ammo. It is a great deal. I've been buying this 124 grain by the many hundreds at a time, a lot lately. You actually get it for the same price that you would get a case of 1,000 at the 100 packs. You do pay for shipping, so keep that in mind and support your local gun stores. But I've been buying the 124 grain because my Springfield Prodigy loves that grain weight. Now, it seems to run 115 just fine as well, 147, but it runs really well with that 124 grain. My other 1911 runs that really well too. This is a 9mm 1911. And generally before that, I ran mostly 115 grain at the range because at my local gun store, it was the easiest to find at the best price point. And so when it comes to practice ammo, that's really all you need. You want FMJ, means full metal jacket, and that's basically going to be your cheap ammo, your ball round. It isn't designed to expand or to do anything special except for hit the target. And I'm not saying that a FMJ round won't kill a person. Still be very, very careful. But there's a reason it's cheap. It doesn't cost as much to make as something like this defensive hollow point does. And most of say you get a Glock, something like that. This is a Palmetto State Armory dagger, but it's a Glock clone. These are going to run your 115 grain just fine. It's great ammo to train with, and that's what I recommend training with. But if you are going to use your firearm for any defensive purpose, which let's be clear, that is what they're for. So say home defense, concealed carry. Like I said, I carry with this. These are the Federal 124 grain HST law enforcement hollow points. And you can see right there, that is a picture of what that projectile does when it hits a soft target. It expands and it dumps all that energy into that target. It's made not to over penetrate. And that is the danger of using something like a full metal jacket for defensive purposes, is that your round could go right through the bad guy, your target, and maybe hit an innocent bystander. So part of the reason for hollow points, yes, technically they are more likely to stop a threat because they dump all the energy into the target, but also they are less likely to over penetrate and hit an innocent bystander or something like that. That's why you train with two different kinds of ammo. Run a lot of full metal jackets to get used to your gun, used to the way it recoils, and get proficient with it. Run some of your defensive hollow points to make sure that your gun feeds and cycles them, but also to get used to the recoil of that. A lot of hollow points are plus P, they're generally hotter loads, and so they will recoil a little more stoutly, and you want to be prepared for that. Now, when it comes to your defensive rounds, there are a lot of them on the market, and they are marketed very well, and some of them are good and some of them are not. I recommend going with tried and true. So again, like I said, Federal HST, these are fantastic rounds. Also Speer Gold Dot. Again, you can see exactly what that round does in a soft target. These are fantastic. I've bought other hollow points before. This is a SIG V-Crown Elite Defense. I'm actually not running these anymore, and the reason is why. I bought them and I was running them in my Prodigy, and sometimes when I would rack at the slide, the first round wouldn't chamber correctly. So now I am running the Speer Gold Dots in the Prodigy as my home defense pistol, because with the light, the red dot, the 20 round capacity, it is a perfect bedside gun. 700 rounds through it so far, and it's been 100% reliable. Everything that I said about 9mm is true across the board for 40, 45, whatever handgun round your handgun is chambered in. Now, the reason I choose 9mm is because at this point, modern ammunition technology, 9mm has been proven to be just as effective as those bigger rounds, but with a higher capacity and less recoil. That's why all of my handguns now are chambered in 9mm. Now, when we get into rifle rounds, well, first let's talk about steel case versus brass case. And the reason why we're going to do that when we get into rifle rounds is the AK-47 or the AKM. So I used to run steel 9mm in my very first handgun, and I had some problems with it getting stuck in the chamber and not ejecting the spent casing. So at this point, I only run brass in all of my firearms, even though it's a little more expensive, because I know I can trust it and it's generally higher quality ammunition. The one exception to that rule is my AK, and I do run steel cased 7.62x39 in the AK. Now you can get brass case for it. This is Bellum. They make a brass cased 7.62x39, and it's a very high quality round for the AK platform. But I also gotta feel like, why? So I bought that. I bought a couple boxes of this Bellum because it was the only 7.62x39 that my local gun store had in stock at the time. But it cost more than twice as much as this steel case stuff does. And if the platform is made to run steel case and it runs it reliably, I don't really see the point in spending extra for different ammunition if it's basically going to do the same thing. Now, and that's the thing, steel case, brass case. Brass is going to cost more than steel case generally. Steel case is mostly made in comm block countries. They can make it very cheap. But I recommend brass in everything else except for like your AK or your SKS or something like that. My ARs, I only run brass cased ammunition. Now, when it comes to your standard AR-15, like this one, most ARs are going to be chambered in 5.56 or 2.23. Not so much 2.23 anymore, maybe 2.23 Wild, but generally 5.56 NATO. Both of those can shoot 5.56 NATO or 2.23 Remington. 2.23 Remington chambering can only shoot 2.23, not 5.56. It'll probably shoot it just fine, but there could be an issue of overpressurization in your chamber. So just be careful. Look at whatever your firearm is. Look on the barrel generally. It'll tell you what it's chambered in. Like this says 9x19 right there. 9x19 means 9mm. 9mm Luger, 9mm Parabellum. They all mean the same thing. 5.56, generally it'll be stamped on your barrel. And that means it'll run 5.56 or 2.23. So this 5.56, 2.23 Remington. They're very, very similar rounds, and they will both chamber in a 5.56 chamber gun. Now, again, kind of like we talked about with the pistol round, regular full metal jacket. Again, I like the AAC ammo, Ammo Incorporated. They make very affordable, practice 2.23, 5.56, SS109 that's cheap and it's reliable. It works great. That's what I run in my ARs most of the time. But for home defense, I have them loaded up with much more expensive rounds. So the one with the nickel plating on it, this is Hornady Critical Defense. And it is specifically made to not over-penetrate, and it's made to not have a high flash so it won't blind you if you have to use it in the dark in your home to defend your home. So again, just like the handgun ammo, defensive ammo, range ammo, two different things. Now I have a 300 Blackout AR. I don't have it on the wall behind me at the moment, but same thing. So, except for even more involved. So this is 300 Blackout, also AAC, Supersonic 300 Blackout. That's going to be your cheaper rounds, great to practice with if you don't have a suppressor. Now, if you have a suppressor, they make subsonic rounds. The subsonic rounds are going to be like 220 grains or more. The supersonic rounds are generally going to be 110, 125 grain. And the difference between that is a supersonic round is faster than the speed of sound. A subsonic round is not. So if you're running suppressed, the subsonic round is going to be much quieter because it doesn't have that supersonic crack as it breaks the sound barrier. I don't recommend shooting your expensive subsonic loads without a suppressor. So I've been collecting this stealth subsonic ammo. I should be close now to getting my suppressor. I'm 7 months in on the wait. Hopefully when I do, we will go out to the range and we will test the difference in sound between the supersonic and the subsonic 300 Blackout out of the suppressor. Hopefully they both cycle just fine. We'll see how that goes. But again, with 300 Blackout, I use that gun for home defense. This is Federal Fusion, and that's what I have in a mag loaded up of 300 Blackout for a quick grab and go if I had to in a bad situation. Certain barrels have different twist rates, and those are going to stabilize different grain weights of ammo better than others. So generally a faster twist rate, like a 1 in 7 twist, is going to stabilize heavier bullets better, like a 77 grain, whereas a 1 in 9 twist will stabilize lighter grain bullets, like a 55 grain better. A 1 in 8 will stabilize all three of those just fine, 55, 62, 77 grain. That's just a general thing to go on when it comes to a 5.56 AR. You may find that your gun, whether it's an AR, a handgun, or anything else, is more accurate or more reliable with certain grain weights, whether light or heavy for caliber, and what works the best for you. And the only way you can really find that out is by trying out a lot of different stuff. So I would like you guys to let me know down in the comments what ammo you run in different platforms, whether in your handguns, your rifle platforms, ARs, AKs, anything else that you might shoot, and let me know what works the best for you. Besides that, I would love it if you subscribe to Sawtooth Tactical, hit my Patreon down below so that we can afford more ammo, to shoot more guns, to have more fun on this channel, bringing you guys more content. I am going to be releasing the YouTube videos on Patreon first from now on, so you will get exclusive early access to that kind of content. From Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.